The power of we was a way of inclusion, a way of inviting anyone who needed or wanted a place to belong.
It was just very clear to me that this was something that would really benefit the young folks right here.
And to be able to give them a different perspective, that I know where they come from, I know what they're experiencing because I was there too, and letting them know that there's different actions that they can take that'll lead to a different destiny.
We really needed to hear that. In order to change our community, we needed to hear that.
And they are inspired to invest in making it happen. That's powerful.
April 20th, Chicago, Stand Nation, Power Week. I'll be there and show you. Yeah, that's it, baby. Hey guys, my name is Wally Green from New York City. We have an amazing event at the Stand Mansion in Chicago. It is called The Power of We, run by my man, my boy, Mr. Lauren Harris. You guys better be there, because I will too, and I hope to see you guys soon. Peace! Good morning, good morning. I'm feeling like a lounge singer today. Hey, welcome to today's installment. Viva Las Vegas. See, I told you. Viva Las Vegas. Okay, all right. Pray for me. I'm feeling some kind of way again. That's right. I am happy to be everything that I am. I mean that. How about you? If you're happy today, let me hear you. Put it in the comments. I am happy. I am blessed. I am encouraged. Can I get an amen? Yes. A lot going on in the world today, you all. It needs more people like us. I don't know if you saw the news this morning. Some updates. It's official. the potential of war is no longer a threat. It is a reality. Missiles were fired already. We're talking about what's going on in Kiev and with Russia and all that. So light, love, and prayers, everybody. It's our world, and these things, we don't want them to get out of hand. So let's pray it away. Let's send light and love to all the people that are being affected by this war. War can never be good, but it is what it is, right? We're living in that time. So listen, you guys, be encouraged. Be encouraged. Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. Again, I'm your host, Lauren Michaels Harris, and help me welcome to the show. She's my sidekick. She's been here all 6 years. This is Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo. Love me some Lucy, girl. I got this coffee for Valentine's. Was it Valentine's? Yeah, Valentine's Day. Little bitty bags. You know how they spend so much money on packaging for coffee. That's why it's so expensive. But this coffee, this is called buttered rum. Just the title alone, right? But it was really like not finely ground. It was like a rough cut. And boy, is it good. I'm telling you what. So listen, you guys, P3. Now that seriously was a senior moment. I was looking over to the side. I don't mean to talk about P3, but since I did, it's my new program. If you want to come in, not this Saturday, but next Saturday for a free 90-minute preview, I welcome you. Head over to LaurenMichaelsHarris.com. Head over. There it is on the screen. Hit the blue button at the top. You'll be redirected where you can reserve your seat. Wonderful things happening. And also, don't forget, Chicago, April 28th. You saw the promos. You know what time it is. It's time for us to pour into some kids. How many? 250 to be exact. Can you come and help us do that? And they will pour back into all of us. Trust me, this is our third one. Our last one in Atlanta, we received the GEM Award, Global Empowerment Movement Award, from the General Assembly of the United Nations in New York City. And what a blessing that was and still is today. That's the Bella Purpose. During the hour, when you hear that, it's not a clever show gimmick. It's not a prop. Oh, no, oh, no, oh, no. It's a reminder. It's an opportunity. Just like that bell had a ring just now, so does the truth. And I want you to hear it in everything today. And we've got a real truth seeker, truth teller here today. He's been here before. I brought him back because, it's rough for a lot of people today. A lot of pressure on people. But today we're really focusing on men, okay? And the men in our world, okay? The men in your life. If you're a man, that means you. A lot of guys, have a lot of trouble with a lot of things, especially emotionally based things and showing feelings and being vulnerable and, the masculine, feminine, all of those. Clearly, I don't have a problem with that one. But anyway, some guys do. Hey, so anyway, I'm just saying, embrace it. You might be surprised. I'm just saying. Cheers. So anyway, this I'm telling you what, there went in the bed. Go away. I rebuke you, senior moment. There it goes. Bye-bye. Leo, I'm telling you something, in the promo for him, I used the word genius. And I really did, because I can just sense it when I look in to what he does and how he does it. Well, here's what he says. He says he's a spirituality and mindset life coach for high achievers seeking substance and purpose. Now, how interesting that must be right there when people read that, when it's like the Jeopardy music starts playing. As soon as they read that, dun, 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 am I a high achiever? Right? A lot of people can't see themselves that way. But this is why Leo is doing what he's doing. Leo Richard, he says he helps an elite group of men do the necessary inner work to stop feeling numb, isolated, and trapped inside while navigating life, business, and relationships clearly. Clearly grounded. Professional self-care teacher and mentor. Professional care teacher. Who in here has felt the need for some self-care from time to time? Okay, so let's get going. You guys know he's been here before. It's Thursday. We have one more day. Let me tell you something. I'm trying to see if I should say this because they might want. I doubt it. They're watching the show. But have you ever had someone? I'm just saying, because I want to know, is this a thing? Jax Young, Nashville singer, my co-host on the upcoming show. What is the name of our show? I'm kidding. License for Love. We were talking about this last night. Have you ever had someone reach out to you like 5 or 6 months earlier and say, "Oh, I'm going to be in town. You mind if I come by and crash at your place or whatever?" And you go, "Okay, no problem. Let me know when." And then the next time you hear from them is that very morning. Just landed safely. I'm like, where? Chicago. Why? Remember I said, Jesus, keep me near the cross. Yes, I'm telling you what, running around, burnt up my vegetarian sausages, trying to get all the, oh, Lord, had to throw laundry and stuff in. You know, you don't realize how much you need to clean until you have some outsiders popping in. So anyway, pray for me, y'all. It's going to be a real challenge for the next 4 days because this was not planned. I'm just saying, I ain't ashamed to ask for prayer or anything you can do to help. Light, love. Guess what? How about this? How about some hearts on the screen? Because guess what? Guess who's coming all the way from the mountains of, it starts with a C, Canada. Shaking my head, Leo.
Yeah.
I hope that's something in that program for old memory.
Well, memories are pretty easy to sort out and improve your memory. It's actually, I was used to be in cutting edge neurotech, but before we dive into all the deep stuff, I just want to commend you on your humor. I love it. It was like you had your butter rum coffee. I have got my butter coffee. I had to drop off screen here to go grab my butter coffee. No rum in mine. Yeah.
That butter coffee with real butter that you drop in it?
Yeah.
I tried that for about 2 minutes back when they first came out. I couldn't get used to the oily slicks.
Oh, you got to know how to make it, man. It's like, yeah, like I'll give you my recipe. You want to hear my recipe?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I get like grass-fed butter, and I put a tablespoon in, a little bit of coconut milk, and some coconut oil. Drop it, and that one gets heated up in my pot. And then I do a mix in ceremonial chocolate, ceremonial cacao or whatever. I do turmeric latte. I do MCT oil, and I do some agave syrup, and then I make my coffee, right? And then I blend it. You got to blend it. If it's not hot, your butter's gonna be in those little, gold circles on the top. It's gonna taste disgusting.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. But you have that in there, and it's awesome. It's like a really, I'm with the 1 cup. I have 1 cup a day, and it's like keeps me going the whole day. I can feel it the whole day instead of like that rush of caffeine. And then you crash, right? Yeah.
So that's so much work. I'm just saying.
But you know what? It's worth it.
So do you make enough for how many cups? Just the one?
Just one. That's all I do. 1 cup.
That might be worth it, actually.
Yeah. So you're making like 2, 3, 4, 5 cups a day, right? Either a machine or a Keurig or whatever you're using, right? It takes some time. It's 2, 3, 4 minutes each time. But yeah.
Why do you go to all that? What's the benefit for you?
Well, there's MCT oil, there's turmeric, there's all the these are the there's coffee's got oxidants in it, right? And so I put the turmeric latte, and then so you got the antioxidants in there as well, and then all the oils and stuff like that are like excellent for your body. Most people are so afraid of eating fats that they don't put fats in their body, right? And so they're really unhealthy.
Clearly I don't have that problem.
Well,
I eat them and I keep them. Clearly,
eating good fat is apparently, according to the research, incredibly useful to lose weight. Did you know that?
I did. Well, I heard the urban myth.
The urban myth, right?
Mm-hmm. Now you don't look like you have an ounce of fat on you.
Yeah, I know. I had some, and then I started drinking this, and then it's gone, man.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Like I'm starting to get chiseled. Like I work out every day, but I'm starting to get chiseled. I've been trying to work out my abs for a while, and it's just not happening. I'm like, so I started. The only difference in my diet is this. Well, actually, I changed my hours I eat, but I eat this, which has got fat. I started putting a lot of fat in my diet, and I'm starting to get chiseled. It's really nice.
Can you email me all the stuff?
Sure, I can do that.
How long, if I try it for 30 days, do you think I'll see some results?
I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but try it out.
Well, I ordered my tuxedo yesterday for the Power of Weed to walk the red carpet with the kids.
Awesome.
Yes. and it's a big deal. Everybody's trying to, that's one of the things we do. We try to like, who's going, it's just like the Oscars or something. And I sat there for about 40 minutes going back and forth between the M and the L, because I'm usually a medium. But I was like, can I get there? Right. So I went ahead and got the medium. And so we'll see.
Sounds like someone's been eating too much of a
yes.
chicken.
Right. So Leo, I don't know well, you're a men's coach. And you say you help an elite group of men. Okay, what makes a person qualify as elite?
Okay, so an elite group of men. So elite has a certain je ne sais pas, like attitude, like I'm going to kick ass, right? And so a lot of people have all this like ambition and drive and success, but they can't either sustain it or they can't bring it into all the other areas of their life. So they have this elite space that they're really like.
So in other words, bullshitters.
Maybe, yeah, like for themselves, absolutely.
Talk, but then can't really.
They have stories in their head that are really holding them back. So they have this story that they're not worthy or they're an imposter, the imposter syndrome stuff, right? And then all sorts of different things like that. So they got all these stories in their head that they can't deal with that like properly. So they bullshit themselves. Not necessarily like I don't work with bullshitters to other people. That's just not my people, right? I don't deal with that kind of stuff. But people think they're always honest. Like some really stern, clear, honest people don't realize how much they bullshit themselves, to be quite frank. And so those people, yeah.
Let me ask you something.
Sure.
I want to know. I bet you're the first person I've actually asked and expected a decent answer from. So, for guys, let's just stick with guys because that's primarily who you work with. I know, like I'm on a discovery call with a guy for the first time or whatever, and all they do is oversell and name drop, and is that what you were alluding to when you said the stories they tell themselves? Why do people do that? Why do people think that's important? That you will see them, especially guys, that you will. Well, let me just, it's something that they got to keep throwing all the things that they're good at out there, or all the companies they have, or how much money they have, or how many toys they have first before they get to the real center of who they are.
That person is deeply insecure. They're looking for acceptance and approval from you. So if you give them the acceptance and the approval, then they think that you're going to buy them, and then they can hook into your space. A lot of salespeople that do this, like it really kind of pisses me off, to be quite honest, because I've been on a lot of discovery calls or whatever, all these types of different calls. They have different names every day, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, just call it a sales call or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You want to call
it. Pretty much.
And so they like try to like hype you up with these emails of like da, and I know so and so, where I worked under this, or I'm certified coach by so and so, and all that kind of stuff. But they're seeking approval and acceptance, and what they're lacking is faith in themselves, the confidence in themselves. So for people who want to like deal with that kind of stuff, not that salespeople are necessarily my clientele or whatever, but the people that are deeply seeking acceptance and approval outside of themselves, that's why they're successful. That's why they're ambitious, is they're driven to get acceptance and approval from people. And they're lacking that confidence and that faith and, determination within themselves. Right. And so I help people shift all that approval seeking energy and the drive that driving that, which really stresses a person's, soul, and change that into faith and confidence in themselves.
Sounds like something a lot of people could benefit from. Clearly, let me ask you. So, sure. How did you get to the type of client that you work with, the elite kind? Was there a reason you chose that sector of the male population?
Because they're committed to their growth, and even if they like a lot of people, like people in poverty, tend to stay in excuses, to stay in blame. It's that guy, it's politics, it's religion, it's my ex, it's this, it's that, and they don't want to get the hell out of it. That's what poverty, that's the poverty mindset. You can be wealthy and have a poverty mindset and that kind of aspect, but there's like the scarcity, survival, stuck in that. And
how's that work, Leo? How can you be wealthy and have a poverty mindset?
Okay, let's say you have a really expensive art piece, like $2-3 million piece of artwork.
A couple of them laying in the corner right there. I get it.
Okay, you're a good point. All right.
I'm
So you're concerned about the UV getting on it. You're concerned about dust. You're concerned about people coming over, stealing it. You're concerned about this or that. So it's in storage. It's hidden away. You can't actually have it.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. And
that's
so
like in the African American world. Well, probably all kinds of races do this. I just know from Aunt Candy and my Aunt Mabel, my Granny Callie. Like when they used to have remember people that have a living room that you never go in?
Right.
Oh, we don't go in there, you know, or they have plastic remember that old plastic that be all over, or dishes even. Oh, we don't use those. That's my good stuff. Put that back.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like why do you have it? Like you have this expensive stuff and it's made for fancy, nice meals or, whatever. Why aren't you using it? Like,
why aren't you using it?
Yeah. And that kind of aspect. Like that's a scarcity mindset. It's a lack, right? I don't.
Yes.
Right. So.
Yes. And people from, you see that in people too, from large families where there was only so much food and stuff. And they had to eat fast, I've heard them say, because if you weren't the first ones done, you didn't get seconds. Right. And they still, because I was at dinner where the guy was, and I mean, he was shoveling it in. Yeah. Like they were getting ready to kick us out. I was like, dude, when was the last time you ate? He was like, she said, his wife said, he always eats like that. And they told the story. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So how do you break someone who has a wealth lifestyle but has a poverty mindset?
Okay, so there's a few things in there. So we talked about one thing, the approval, acceptance kind of piece. So underneath that, there's usually, I'll oversimplify it, but it's easier said than done often for most people, right? So there's a component that I work on that are called pictures, the pictures that people create in their minds. So you've got thoughts and feelings, and then most people deal with thoughts and feelings. You have negative thoughts. And sorry, I'm breaking down like 30,000 foot perspective here. So you have thoughts and feelings, and people cycle on that, and they're conscious of that kind of stuff. But underneath that, you got pictures that create the thoughts and the feelings that you have. So say you're a picture that, like you've brought it up a number of times, African American, right? That's like you. I would imagine you have quite a number of pictures about what that means for you. And so, for example, maybe ancestral, you have this component depending where you're from, your ancestry is from in Africa. If it's on the West Coast, in contrast to like South Africa or, the East Coast, there's not as much slavery on the East Coast or South Africa. But if your family ancestral comes from the West Coast of Africa, then you'll have ancestral patterns around slavery, maybe through like Jamaica and the islands of Caribbean and stuff like that, and all the kind of stuff that goes with that, right? And so you've got these pictures ancestral. That's a very scarcity poverty mindset in that example, like you're a slave, like really, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so African Americans tend to carry that. There's that coffee sounds delicious. Thanks, Jamie. And so you carry that with you, and it can't, if you don't heal that part of your ancestral stuff and let that go, like it's not your responsibility. Like I deal with it in my own country, right, where I grew up. So my history, I have indigenous, like First Nations, Native American kind of history, right? And I wasn't born back then when all the shit happened. I mean, there's still shit carrying on these days, but I don't carry that karma with me. Like, so there's a big fight in Canada between indigenous circles and, European circles or Western circles about, you guys need to fix this, and it sucks. There's these ancestral patterns that are carried on, and people who are on the lax side of it tend to be in the poverty spectrum of it, which really sucks. And so you're ultimately responsible. Like you're blaming the past. You're blaming someone else, blaming a culture from the past or people from the past. They may be reincarnated now. That's another story. But you're blaming your history for your position where you are now. And so what I've had to fight through in terms of my own ancestral stuff is all the baggage, all the pictures that come from my ancestry. And for me to get past that created all these lifts in my life, right? So if you've got deeply inherent in your psychology of like slavery, you're going to always feel like it'll transfer into a different experience, like slave to Sam, which is like in the US's expression of like the president or the government, right? Or a slave to the man, or
right.
You pick up yeah, you pick up all these other slavery pictures, like slave to the taxes, and it becomes a different game. It transfers into present time about something else, but you're still carrying that ancestral.
You're still
shit.
carrying that, right?
Yeah,
Right.
it's just got a different story to it, a modern day story to it. And so you gotta ultimately stop blaming people or giving the world outside of yourself the excuse of why your life is the way you are. You're ultimately responsible for your life. You know, maybe not as a kid. You may have, you know, had certain situations under certain, you know, foster systems or whatever you had as a kid. And shit, that sucks. But you're an adult now. It's time to like man up, or, you know, grow some gonads or some ovaries or whatever, and get your fucking ass out of it.
Well,
right?
I'll take one of each.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm just saying, well, the day is a coming. Let me ask you this. Let's stick on the ancestry thing for a minute, because that's been something coming up in my world. I want to, I'm going to tell you. Can I tell you what happened? The download I had first week of January, standing in my driveway, which is where a lot of them happen. I think it must be some kind of vortex under there or something. Every time I'm standing out there, something happens. I was standing there, and I have these floodlights on both sides of the house. You know, they hit the two trees that are, you know how that is. And they were on because it was still dark. It's like 4 a.m. And no, I was not just getting in. I was just getting up. So, because I was like, damn, what are you doing? Right. So anyway, I'm standing there and just like, I promise this is the truth. I was standing beside a shack, and I was like, right beside, they should have been able to feel my breath. I was that close. A girl and a guy, and they were facing each other. I could tell they weren't a couple, but I felt that they were related. And the girl and the shack wasn't like, I knew they were slaves by the way they looked and the condition of their hands and stuff, their fingernails, and instantly, because just instantly, I just knew. And this girl was pleading with this guy, and she was like, why would you risk running again? You failed the last time. He goes, I didn't fail. She goes, how can you say that? They took your right foot, and now you're going to try to run on one foot? Why would you even consider this? And he goes, because the first time I was running for me, and I was running from this place. This time I'm running to some place, and I'm running for him. And he pointed, and she looked, and I was right there. So I looked right down the scope of his finger, and I saw me standing in my driveway. So much so that I wanted to turn and look in that direction, but I was scared that I would really see them looking at me, and they would see me looking at them, and I didn't know. So anyway, I'm like, and then I came back. So the ancestry thing has been in the forefront of my mind ever since. Yeah. Do you believe? I believe that some of our ancestors, the purpose of our ancestors it's like a slinky. You know how slinky goes tail overhead? Yep. That kind of thing. And lands on specific people in specific bloodlines. And that is what gives people the courage to do things with no proof of why it's so important. You just know through and through that it is. Tell me how you feel about that.
Okay, so there's two components to that. So I would kind of just define that around faith. So there's this faith in you in the future there. Oh, all right. And so you have the ancestral stuff, right? Absolutely. That comes from your past. Like I have a bit of a rebellious streak, and that comes from me personally, and that comes from some ancestral stuff. Like my indigenous ancestors, for example, they refused to be on the Canadian census. And what that means is they couldn't be drafted as, you know, Indians, at the time is what they were called, and First Nations or whatever. They refused. They were rebellious. They fought the system. And that rebellion kind of comes up in me as well, my ancestral. And that's part of my ancestral kind of in my body, DNA or whatever you want to call it, kind of comes through. And then in your case, you've got easily like totally pointing at you going, that fucking kid, someday that kid's going to make a difference in the world. And what I'm doing today is for him.
To help that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that kind of stuff. And he could see it and that kind of stuff. And it's pointing out to you and that kind of aspect. And that type of thing does absolutely happen. You could get that momentum from that. And ever like, you know, in your, maybe not, yeah, you get that probably in your life, but typically happens for people as a kid when you're in sports, when people are celebrating you, high-fiving you, encouraging you, you know, it gives you that extra little oomph, right? And that kind of stuff. when you got that. So you've got this ancestor that's giving you that extra little oomph, that celebration, that high five, like go Lauren, go, right? That kind of deal, right? And so some people are fortunate to have that in their history. Some aren't. And so you got to like really generate that for yourself, where it comes back to your faith in yourself, where you're congratulating yourself and encouraging yourself and that kind of stuff. So yeah, absolutely.
And you know, Leo, I'm gonna tell you another piece of that, because you know my story. You know, 22 mothers. I wasn't really even adopted, but I was passed off. And then they like took me and this and the other, all these things, and you kept me in hiding and all that. And it all started coming together in that moment. So much so, I thought, should I go live? When I came back to the driveway, I actually had turned it on. Lip was still quivering. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, nope, I can be vulnerable. I don't know if I can be that vulnerable. Because, but the thing about it is I said, well, that makes perfect sense. Why something was trying so hard to keep me from knowing my biological history, which I still don't know a lot of. But now that I saw that, I started feeling the same pull towards that knowledge as I did the day. I'll never forget the day when, I want to say out of the blue or out of nowhere, but of course I believe in purpose. But I remember the moment, the definitive moment where it was in the air about seeking my birth mother. I really never seriously considered it. It had popped through my mind, but I was dismissed it. But this time it was like I heard something. We're like, what's that? Somebody, you smell that? What is that in the air? It was like that. And it would not let me go until I knocked on her door 16 years later. I'm serious. It was so strong. I thought I was crazy and ended up during that 16 years with a 14-year drug addiction, because I thought, why would I? So all these things. So talk about how did you get to, before we get into that, Lori says, I decided to use all my china and crystal glasses for everyday use now that I'm older, instead of it collecting dust before I turn to dust. Absolutely. Amen to that. Amen to that. So Leo, what was it that started pulling you, leading you into this purpose of yours? Because I think you have a real gift for what you do. And I can just sense it. I can just sense it. Right. So tell us how that happened and why you think it happened.
I have a few different, not set points, starting points, I guess, or anchor points. It might be more of a word. But so I remember dying from my previous life, what the space was like between my previous life and this current life, and coming and incarnating or coming into this physical reality and going with that. That's one of my spaces. Another one is when I was 17. I was getting into a lot of trouble as a teenager. And when I was 17, that's like, that was almost 30 years ago. Anyways. Wait
a minute. How old are you?
I'm 42.
What?
Yeah, I'm 42.
Get out. Who thought that? I know whoever said that. Take it back. I heard somebody else say, no, he lying. Whatever. So really, you look like you're barely 30.
Yeah, I'm a 70s kid.
Okay, I'm getting ready to make me some butter coffee.
Butter coffee, man.
Right?
Meditation, eating clean, all that kind of stuff, and getting rid of your shit.
Younger than that.
Yeah, and so yeah, I have a beard to make myself look older. Just to be honest, I actually look younger.
Tired of getting carded, are you? When they asked me for ID when I had the mask on, I was like, which set of wrinkles do you want to see? That's what I tell
those ones, or
right? Do I really need to reach for my wallet? Come on now, look at. Okay. Oh. Okay. Never mind. Anyway, so go on.
And then when I was 17, I was getting, like, as a teenager, I was getting into a lot of trouble. And when I was 17, I had a friend of mine die of a coke overdose, and that kind of started spinning the wheels for me a little bit. But I went to her wake, an open casket wake, and I don't know if it was in my mind or if it actually really happened. It doesn't really matter.
It was real to you. It was real.
Yeah, it was very real for me. When I looked at her face, her eyes popped open, and I was like, "Holy fuck!" Right? And I'm like this big, well, not like muscular big, but like reputation big. Like nobody fucked with me. Tough guy, non-emotional, whatever. And I ran out of there bawling. at that moment. Just like boom, it like snapped something inside of me, and from there I started teaching myself meditation. There's this kind of joke as a young kid that the teachers would time me for how long I could stay still, and my record was 3.5 seconds. And so I was like, something to do with that. I got to just sit still. And so that's how I started teaching myself meditation, is just like sit my ass down, keep my body completely still, and what's going on with me. And I started developing, like, in hindsight, what I would call it, like energy-based tools. And then when I was about 21, I started learning a meditation system. There's no name to it or whatever. It's just like energy. And it's like a 7-year program I did in about 3 years. And a lot of the stuff that they were teaching, I had already taught myself through and different things like that. Like it's more than just like chakras and different things like that, but a bunch of other things. And I'd always use my spiritual awareness or my psychic abilities to keep me out of trouble or be very intuitive about people and read people and that kind of stuff. But a lot of it was about seeking approval from people or lack or scarcity and keeping myself out of trouble. And I started shifting that around to supporting people and helping people. And then the biggest kind of massive kind of overhaul in my entire life was in 2014. I was in I sat everybody down in May and told them by the end of August, September, I was resetting my life. And by the end of August, September, I'd know what I was doing with my life. So I ended up, because there was something picking at me. I was at a wall in personal development. I've been doing a lot of work on myself and like all that kind of stuff. And everybody hits these 1 or 2 choice points in their personal development. If they're really focused on personal development in their life, of like, are they really going to do it? Are they really going to step up and like tackle it? You usually tops 5 in a lifetime, but usually 1 or 2 like major choice points. And that's going to really define you, who you are. In my case, it was who am I as a man kind of deal. And so I ended up walking away from a 13-year relationship, 2 successful companies. One was in cutting edge neurotech. One was a meditation healing center. Both I've spent the previous decade kind of building. But, that's a pretty soft way to say it. But the people around me that were my loved ones, so to speak, or family, like in-laws and stuff, proceeded to like rip my life apart, like completely rip my life apart. I lost my client files. I got assaulted to try to get my client files back. The 2 things I did not want to lose are my dog and my relationship with my niece. And I lost both of those in this whole process. And I was like, I was resetting my life because up against a personal development wall. And I was like, well, I could fight in the court system to get this all back. I lost my home, lost a car, like a whole bunch of stuff, like lots of stuff. Like I spent a decade building.
Now this is in the midst of, you've been doing all this personal work and you're getting to all these mile markers. Boom, boom. Boom, as you call them, choice points.
Yep.
And then the people closest to you,
they didn't like
heard
it.
this story yesterday from a guy.
Yeah.
I can say it sounds familiar. Okay, so go on. What?
And so basically what I was left with after all this kind of the dust settled, if you will, I had $500 in my pocket, a few possessions kind of things. And I moved into an artist collective. I left a 13-year relationship in 2, not high profile companies, but 2 successful companies. And
wait, artist collective.
Yeah.
Is that like a modern term for cult?
No, it was a person bought a home and rebuilt the entire home and built it into a mansion. And it was supposed to be like an inn with like a B&B type thing. And they couldn't get it going as a business. And so they ended up renting out all these spaces. So we had like wood carvers, painters, jewelry makers, and that kind of stuff, and that living in this property. It was awesome. It wasn't very long.
Like an artist colony.
Yeah. Yeah. And we ended up being the center of the city for the whole entire artist community. And we'd have it was a really amazing experience. And so
Are you an artist?
Pardon?
Are you an artist?
Well, people consider me a spiritual artist. I do love painting and working with my hands and clay and all that kind of stuff, but not like, professional by any means. But
is that your work behind you?
Yeah, that's my work behind me.
Okay. Modest too. Like, go on.
Yeah. So there's like that. And so I ended up rebuilding my entire life. And so what was it that was like the key ingredient that I was missing? And what I really figured out, and not that I would back then consider as lacking integrity, but that was the key shift to me, was really honing in on my integrity. And so there's a component with integrity from a long time ago for men which is more about like valor and honor, and like you hold your word, right? You stay true to your word. But what it tended to be about in the past was you hold true to your word to other people rather than to yourself. You compromise yourself, and you're at the expense of what you committed to someone else that may no longer be fit anymore. And so I had to redefine integrity directed at me instead of what I was doing for others. Not to be a jerk to people or break my word with all these people or whatever, but because I would compromise my integrity as well. But like, there's an aspect of like, I needed to, what are my commitments to myself? And I hold my integrity to myself. And that is what my personal wall was about. And that's what I've built through my life now. So yeah,
that is so true. Write that down, you guys. Commit it to memory. This is something I think you should take all the way to a cellular level. I remember exactly when that approached me, just walked right up to me, what you're talking about. And it's in my masterclass. You guys have heard it that have watched it, where I said, what it boils down to in most cases is that with the self-sabotage thing, we break our own covenants with ourselves.
Totally. Absolutely.
Wow. And you're right, because, a lot of people, it's the outward opinion, the outward appearance, and then nothing turned inward. It's easy to lie. Do you think, let me ask you this, do you think it's easier for us to lie to ourselves than it is to lie to other people?
Absolutely. People do it all the time to themselves. They tell themselves a story.
How dangerous is that?
Oh, it's lethal. Yeah.
Absolutely. When we come back from this brief break, we're going to get into a little bit deeper water for a minute or two about what I want to know. What Leo feels, what you feel, Leo, is the largest obstacle for men to get through, because I don't believe in getting over it, getting around it, or digging under it. I believe we got to get through it because there needs to be a breakdown usually before there is a breakthrough. We're going to find out what he says about that and more. Get your questions and comments ready. We'll be back in 30 seconds. Okay, let's make it a minute. We'll be back in 1 minute. You guys don't go away. Still time to share. Wait a minute. I'm trying to figure out what I want to show you guys. How about, I'm really stuck. There's something somebody needs, and I feel it's here. I'm going to find, okay, here it is. Okay, you guys, for those of you who want to make sure that you are headed towards the right mile marker in your life, and that you're the one that keeps sabotaging things. I was that person. How many of you can say, raise your hand, right? So I run around and try to put things in front of me to remind me what my covenant to myself. And so here's one of them, intention pen. It's a little blurry, but mine says through me, not from me, to remind me, no matter how good it starts getting, don't get it twisted, Lauren. This is a co-authorship. This is a partnership, and you best never forget it. We'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Dom Fawcett. I want you to join Lauren, myself, Todd, Jason, Danny, and so many other speakers at the Power of We Symposium, April 28th in Chicago. I've done it 1 year. So this is my second year doing it. It is going to be a game changer. Again, my name is Dom Fawcett with Think React League out of Arizona. I look forward to seeing you in Chicago at the Power Week Symposium.
All right, welcome back to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Lauren Michaels Harris, and our guest today is Leo Richard out of Alberta, Canada. Listen, before we get him back in here, if you are feeling what we're putting down today about small choices and big shifts in your life, remember this. I tell you guys every day, it was just a few years ago that I traded in my Diet Coke habit for something that serves me better, and that's V8. Its original is my favorite one of the choices. 100% vegetable juice, 60 calories in every one of these little puppies, and two full servings of vegetables. How good is that? Easy peasy to find. Head down the juice aisle at your local grocer and pick up one. Don't say, oh, I should have had a V8. Just get it done, right? Delicious. Tastes just like candy. Don't send me for plagiarizing. Vita Benjamin, here she comes. Here he comes. Sorry. Hey, real quick, welcome back. Well, you mentioned something. I asked a question before we left, but before we get out of here, don't let me forget, Leo. Self-care. I want you to talk about that a lot. But before we get to that, you said something earlier, and I wrote it down and circled it, when you said, I had already taught myself these things. And I run into that. When you hear things, and things from years and decades ago, when what is greater than was putting you through the OJT program, on-the-job training. You had no proof. You thought it was just your thing. And then you get to this place in your development where you start, it gets confirmed. Whether you watch something, you read something, you hear something, you go, well, that sounds just like what I've always known. And those things that no one told us, we just somehow always knew. What is that? And why do you think so many people, it's so easy for us to dismiss it when it happens? Like, oh, that can't be.
Sure. Why is it so easy to dismiss?
Yeah, like, how could I have known this? Right.
So now we're talking in what I call the energy spectrum, and this is my space. This is my field, right? My expertise. So there's so much that goes on. We just as a really basic thing, we've probably heard the expression that fish, do they really realize they live in water, right? So for humans, do we really realize we live in air, right? There's all this air around us, all this space, and we don't really pay attention to that, right? So it's like these things that we know that we don't really know, and that's kind of a physical reality component. But when you get into like spiritual reality and energy realities and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot that goes on, and I don't really see much depth out there, even in I'm an energy healer or energy teacher, whatever. Even in those types of courses or programs, I don't tend to see the depth of what's really possible. People don't really know how much goes on an energy level. So just on a basic, back to physical reality, and you look at atoms, and 99.9, so many nines after that, of our atoms is space. And we're so identified with our physical body, which is like that 0.0000001 part of our reality.
Of the whole thing, right.
Yeah. And so we're conditioned to be very kind of material, kind of focused, physical reality focused, maybe emotional reality if we've had that support in our lives, maybe mental reality if we had that support in our lives, but spiritual reality, energy realities, there's very little support in our culture for that. So again, from what I've seen in my clients and myself is acceptance and approval from other people external. They don't have the faith in themselves. They don't have the confidence in themselves, the integrity. And so it comes on, it's like, oh my God, it's such a great idea, but it's not possible. Oh my God, it's like great thing. Oh, but it's not possible.
Down.
Yeah, up and down, up and down. They don't.
It's like that game at Chuck E. Cheese where you whack-a-mole. As soon as an idea or belief comes up, bam, you knock it back down. Okay. So is this tied? Is this what they were trying to tell us years and years ago when they say, well, we only use 10% of our brain?
Yeah, we use 100% of our brain, but most of it is unconscious. Most people don't have the ability to access it. They don't know how. They're not taught how. You know, and that kind of stuff. We're trained in schools to basically regurgitate and memorize stuff, unless it's arts or maybe physical education or something like that. But by and large, it's memory. Can you remember 3 + 3? Can you remember the definition of this? Can you remember how to spell that? And that's what school is about. And it trains you to be in a very specific part of your brain as what learning is. There's so much expansiveness in learning. Like, learning is about expansion. And it's not just about memory. And there's even in university, they talk to you about critical thinking for yourself, but they teach you how to do it. You know, it's like, this is the program of how to think for yourself. Oh, okay, so you're telling me how to think for myself, but you're telling me in your certain style. And so there's not, like, it's really limiting in of itself, right? And so things you can do to kind of counter that is to be curious, to be interested in people, be interested in yourself, be curious about whatever. Those things are like antidotes for that kind of stuff. But ultimately, it comes back down to, you know, scarcity, survival, lack, and overcoming that with like confidence and certainty and faith in yourself and that kind of stuff. And that's the dilemma that goes on. And again, that's what, you know, the people that I work with, like in the elite programs and so forth like that, is they're stopping the approval process, acceptance of others, and turning it into themselves. And when you accept yourself and you congratulate yourself, or you love yourself, or you have that inner harmony, you can give that to other people. Then people will just naturally accept you. You don't have to force it, right?
Correct.
And so, yeah, and that's part of the dynamic. So back to the intuitive question. So people doubt themselves a lot, and people carry a lot of doubt in their head that they picked up from society. Like, there's a lot of expressions in our society. Like, Japan has the nail that stands out, gets knocked back down. Australia has the tallest poppy, gets cut. There's all sorts of expressions. Like, if you stand out, that support pushing you back down. And then you get that in your peer circles. Like, I experienced that with like the people that cared about me or loved me. Like, I gave them ample room to like redesign their lives if they needed to. But they saw me grow, and they wanted to shut it back down because it made them so uncomfortable
with themselves.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. I experienced the same. And listen, this is a good one, y'all. Pay attention. Because I'm telling you what, I didn't realize how much it mattered to me. I always said, oh, I don't give a shit what people say or think. I thought. But then there was a select group of people that I constantly kept letting them crap on me because I thought I could change their mind about me. Totally. And then it dawned on me, wait a minute. Before anything ever came, any trauma when I was little, because I'm talking about family, the people you think know you the most, know you the best. You know, they talked shit about me then. During the trauma and stuff, they talked shit about me then. Mm-hmm. After I got out and was working to pick myself up and this and the other, you know, the comeback kid, they talked shit about me then. And then when my world completely flipped, they talked about me now. You see what I'm saying? Right? And it's like, well, wait a minute. And I'll tell you something. It's like this. What they did do to me is this. They taught me, they groomed me into blessing them regardless. Because I have to look at it like this. I have to reinvent blame. Whatever they did, I'm grateful for it. Whatever they're doing, I'm grateful for it. Because guess what they did? They led me to you. They led me to what I do every day. They led me to this space. So I understand that, but it is hard. So let's talk about that self-care piece.
Sure.
Why is it we always, or in most cases, put ourselves last? How come people don't know the difference, myself included sometimes, between selfish and selfless?
Okay. So I like to use I like to contrast it with different words. So you got a component around self-centered versus centered on self. Okay. So self-centered is like, you know, you're narcissistic, you're completely selfish and like a small nature kind of Marsha. Awesome. And then when you're centered on self, you have a solid base. Like, think of your home. Your home doesn't move, your physical home, unless you're moving or whatever, but like you have this home that creates this home base. It's a foundation. You know that you're going out in the world. When you get home, there's a shower for you. There's a hot shower. There's a bed. There's whatever, that kind of stuff. But if you're, you know, kind of lost in the self-centered aspect, you kind of lose your foundation. You kind of become rough and gruff. You're seeking approval. When you're self-centered, you're actually manipulating people to try to get acceptance to try to get them to accept you and all that kind of stuff. But when you're centered on self, you're not worried about manipulating people. You're emotionally empowered by yourself. You're spiritually empowered, all that kind of stuff. And therefore you have a solid foundation where you can go out into the world, transform the world, help people, but you have a solid base in yourself. You're not burning yourself out. People, I know I've met people, I've talked to people a long time ago, they're like on their deathbeds and they're still worried about their kid's health or that person. They're dying. They're going to be dead in like 12 hours or, a week from like cancer or whatever they're going on. They're not focused on themselves. They're like so focused on fixing everything else around them rather than like, dude, you got to take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, the line's right there, And so people, like unless they hit them, in that case, not, but like unless they hit a crisis, a health crisis, a divorce, career crisis, they don't look at themselves to take care of themselves and they're going to burn out because they have all this doubt that's running in the background, subconscious, and they're chasing to they're trying to overcome stuff and overcome and overcome and overcome. And then what they're not doing is just creating the life that they want. And to be able to create the life that you want, you have to focus back on your self-care and get to know who the hell you are. Because if you're just creating based on like acceptance or manipulation, like most people would not admit that they're manipulating people. That's the story they tell themselves, right?
Yes.
Like I want to be liked by people. Okay, cool. How are you manipulating people to like you? That's part of the dynamic. People rationalize and shut the story down. Sorry, I'm going on a ramble here, but like, so there's a lot of components, and let me just circle back to kind of finesse it. But like, in terms of your original question around self-care, and the importance of it is that you become centered on yourself. You have a home base, and when you have a home base, you have a solid foundation where you can actually help people. If you don't have a home base, you're pooched. Right. You're going to lack integrity in terms of helping people. You're going to lack integrity in terms of your word. You're going to lack all sorts of things, and people will eventually see through it. Even if the people who are the best storytellers, that people are eventually going to see through that story. Okay. And so at that point, your life's going to fall apart. You're going to have the divorce. You're going to have the health crisis. You're going to have whatever's going on. And that's why it's important to have the self-care, because then if you take care of yourself, it's like a preventative approach to your well-being, then you're not going to have to deal with those crises. Okay.
Crises. Excuse me, key word right there. And you took me back to a moment I remember when Jason Cisneros, a good friend of mine and mentor, he laid it down and it clicked finally after decades. When I used to go to the mindset of like on an airplane, when they're showing you if the oxygen mask drops, secure it over your face and mouth and nose first before you try to assist someone else. Or give it to children, this and the other. And I used to think that was my responsibility to the world, was to always take care of them first, and not, and they tell you to put it on your own first, but I'd be like, let me help you with that. Oh, can I help you there? And then I realized when Jason said, Lauren, no, if you're going to be on the plane and you're going to see it that way, then remember who you are. You're the pilot. If anybody has to keep their wits about them, who do you think gave the order? Push the button for those to drop down, for people could see that was the pilot. And because I needed to banish my anger. I kept saying, well, people are always pushing my buttons. He goes, that's a fucking excuse. Like you told me. He said, if you believe that to be true, then why don't you just move the fucking button? People can't push what they can't find. Now, he kept turning everything back on me. And that was hard. So self-care, I believe, too, isn't just like, oh, take care of yourself. Oh, go to sleep. No, it's also like be truthful, be like, get in your own face and make yourself, that's back to those choice points. Yes. So tell people what they can expect when they head over to the website that is scrolling along the bottom, dlrichard.com. Tell them what they can find there. And can a woman come there and talk to you about how you can help her man or a man in her life?
Absolutely. I want to circle back to the self-care piece quickly, though.
Go right ahead.
All right. So with the self-care component, the best self-care you can do for yourself is to face your shit. and most people won't.
Won't do it.
Yeah.
He
And
didn't
so,
say can't. He said they won't. It's a choice.
yeah, it is absolutely a choice.
Why
If you
is that?
find yourself
Why
in-
can't they? Why can't they?
What I've witnessed
can't
over the years, like I have 60,000 hours personal work on myself and probably 35, 40,000 client hours. And what it comes back to is acceptance and approval from other people. Okay. That's what I've noticed. And so they won't, because if they deal with their ugly shit, they're going to like, well, people won't like me. So they have all this story, this mechanism, defense mechanism to like, I'm such a great person. Like I got shit. I've been working on myself really hard, steep path for a number of years. I still got shit to deal with. Right. And so it's like, but the dynamic, my relationship with my stuff is very different than it was 25, 30 years ago. Like, I'm like, okay, I got shit to deal with. How do I deal with it? Whereas it's like, because I know it's going to build muscle. It's like resistance. Like you go to the gym, right? Weights are resistance, right? That's kind of another way you could frame a weight. And so if you have people blaming you or talking about you or shit, life sucks, or you're in debt, or you got this stuff going on, consider that like resistance. And you're going to use it to build your weights, build your physique, build your health, build your well-being, and your self-care. Right. You got it. That's the self-care that people don't talk about, or if they do, they don't. It's like, maybe next
very
week.
Superficial.
Yeah, it's very superficial.
Just want to glaze right over it, keep it moving.
Yeah, and then back to your question around my website. People are welcome. I am open to 3 conversations a week for people who want to talk to me about like whatever they want to do, their partners, like their husbands or whatever. And my husband's going through this kind of dynamic. And I want to echo back your question prior to the break, and this will come back to the deal restrict thing, and I'll tie in nicely. So why I'm focusing on men. There's a couple core reasons. One, I'm a man, obviously, and 2, I've experienced this myself. So for a very long time, but let's say the industrial age, it's our more recent history, men have kind of left the household. And so they go to the cities or the factories to work back in the industrial age, and their boys didn't get raised by their fathers. They lost that connection. They lost the connection on the farm. They lost the connection on this and that kind of stuff. And they were raised by their mothers. And that kept going on. And then you get into like World War I, World War II, where the men went off to war and again continued to be raised by their mothers. Kids went to school, and I'm talking about the boys here in this context specifically, and they were predominantly taught by female teachers back in the day. It's more balanced now these days. And so the version of male was transferred down by women and their version of male to boys. So men now have these ideas about what it means to be male from women. And then you have the feminist movement, who basically blamed men for everything wrong in the world. And the feminist movement said,
calm down, Jamie Lane. Calm down, Jamie Lane. Calm down. Put down, Jamie. Put down. Go ahead.
And then we have the feminist movement that basically said we're equal, which is cool. I'm all board for that. But then we don't need men. Therefore, men do not have a place in society. So men have become completely lost in their role in society. There's no place for men. So men are basically lost and trying to figure out their place in society. And this doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, whatever. There's a component of like, men have no place in society. And so we try to fit these pictures that have been transferred down to us from women and their version of what male is, coupled with the feminist movement that men are, and not all feminists, but like the predominant message of like the 70s, whatever, that men are useless, right? That's the kind of message. They're lost, and that they don't have a place in our society. And I'm all for balance, and I want female and feminine and masculine. Everybody has access to both feminine and masculine energy, regardless of gender and stuff, and balancing that out. So it's an individual internal process. And so men are out there shutting down who they are. They're lost. They're confused. They know success in business, and like that's where there's a place for a man. All right. So can I just share, and then I'll couple back to this other thing. Can I share a screenshot here, I think?
Yeah. Hurry. We're 4 minutes over.
Oh, sorry.
So no, that's okay. We can go a couple more. People they're still here. So we can do that.
Okay.
Let's go for ending in 5 minutes. How's that?
Okay, cool. Let's see. Just let me know if we can see this. Okay, share. Can you see this? There's a bunch of men at a table.
Huh?
Can you see this picture? There's a bunch of men. Yeah. All right.
I do not see it.
You do not see it. Okay. All right. I don't know how to not share
I know.
that.
I don't know how you do that on here either.
Okay, cool. Anyways, so there's this picture. It's a group of CEOs at the Munich Security Conference of 2022.
Okay.
And they hold incredible power, make decisions that impact the world. They talked about the Russia-Ukraine crisis, which is what's happening right now, cybersecurity, and other critical economic humanitarian issues. They're all white men, white hair, balding, predominantly all of them around this table. There's no women. And they're all very it's really concerning because these are men that are raised on the back of this, disconnected from their male energy and in making decisions that are impacting the world right now. Massive decisions. And it's super. And so you have lost, confused. And then the options we have in our society are super religious, hyper business, weak, no backbone, and that kind of stuff. Those are like our masculine role models in our world right now.
Right.
And that's what's making our decisions for war right now. The Russia-Ukraine crisis.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
That's exactly. Listen, you are kidding. You got those thousands of hours in. I can tell. But I told y'all there is some genius in here. So listen. Do yourselves and the men you know a favor. Just go over and peek in. There, scrolling along the bottom is the website, dlrichard.com. Go over. And you guys, we'll get him back again. But go over and continue the dialogue. Leo, see what I'm saying? Man, we could keep going if we wanted to. Maybe we should put some kind of a 90-minute special together and talk about this a little deeper and get some guys on and hear what they have to say. That might be a good thing. Let's talk about that. Listen, I want to thank you so much for coming in. You always are a pleasure. You always give me a whole bunch of content and ideas and things to ponder. And that's what it's all about. It's an illuminated conversation, y'all. Thank you. Listen, do you guys join me tomorrow? Excuse me. One of my Elevate Masterclass alum, I guess you would say, label mates, or he has a masterclass as well. His name is Frank. Oh, this is so hard. Iovine, Iovine. This guy is great. Wait till you meet him. Anybody from the Bronx or New York City, you're going to love this guy. Lives in Florida now, but man, what an inspiration. Just like you, Leo Richard. Thank you so much again, you guys. Check out the website. It's right there for you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Get out and be the best you can be. Don't worry about who you're going to be this time tomorrow. Be the best you are right now. Find an E and an R. Scoot it over right beside you and take great to greater, bright to brighter, strong to stronger, and bold to bolder. See you on the front porch tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Central, God willing, for our next installment of Bathrobe Moments. Bye, Leo. Bye, everybody. See you guys.
Thank you, Laura.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Boy, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind.